Andrew, on page 242 of your book, just 6 pages from the end of the crisis of Canadian democracy, you write that we remain one of the richest, freest, fairest, most blessed places on earth. You're of course referring to Canada there. And yet prior to that, for some 200 pages, you're making the argument that Canadian democracy is in crisis. How do you square these two seemingly contradictory ideas?
Well, we had a great constitutional inheritance. We were founded at a time of great democratic ferment. And the structure of what was built was pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. But it's been 150 odd years, and we've allowed a lot of those things to deteriorate. A lot of the conventions and principles in which we're governed have deteriorated. So we're kind of coasting on past glories, if you will. And look, we've got some things right about our politics and our political culture. Our elections aren't actually fixed. They're not corrupted. People aren't standing over you with a baseball bat telling you how to vote. But the other thing is we have a good, healthy democratic culture, at least compared to some other countries. We don't view each other as the enemy. We don't seek revenge when we get into power. The disinformation scourge, while present in our politics, has not gone to anything like the same extent as some other places. And because we've succeeded on a lot of other fronts, there doesn't seem to be the same appetite for extremist voices. None of these things should blind us to the fact that we could be governing ourselves in a much more democratic manner. And I would say, I think you make a strong case, not just a more democratic manner, but a better governance model.
So is the word crisis an exaggeration?
I don't think so. I think when you look, let's just take what we've just been through in the last 6 months. We're in the middle of what many people agree is an existential crisis where the President of the United States, our nearest neighbor, closest ally, major trading partner, and historic protector, is suddenly talking more like an adversary than a friend, threatening to annex us, et cetera. And in the middle of this crisis, Parliament sits dark for 6 months and nobody cares. That's extraordinary. Usually in a crisis, people turn to their elected leaders to give voice to their fears, to thrash through solutions and approaches to the problems that are facing the country. Nobody turned to Parliament. Parliament has so dwindled in relevance that people can't even remind themselves why they should care. So we're in a kind of a vicious circle there. And when Parliament becomes irrelevant, when MPs that we elect to the Parliament, when they're no longer seen as actually representing us or holding the government to account, a lot of other things flow from that. One is that the federal government, the government that is supposed to look after our national interests as opposed to merely provincial interests, doesn't feel it has the legitimacy to do so. It hesitates to tackle the provinces because too many people in our country, with some justice, look at the federal government and the federal parliament and just refer to it as Ottawa, this far-off place they send MPs to and they're never heard from again. So that crisis of legitimacy, therefore, has knock-on effects in terms of the federal government's efficacy, and we're seeing the fruits of that right now. We're seeing provinces passing just flagrantly unconstitutional bills, beating up on their minorities, and the federal government doesn't feel it can say boo to try to stop them. So there's a couple of examples where what might seem like an academic or a textbook exercise has real-world consequences.
You've been listening to a clip of In Bed with the Elephant with me, your host, Adrian Harewood. Be sure to check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. And please be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and write a review. We love hearing from you.